In my last life, my mother, desperate to repay a life debt, told them about my unique condition, a sympathetic regenerative constitution. It led me to marry into the Davenport family, wedding their heiress, Victoria, to supposedly cure her terminal illness. A month later, Victoria, who had been given weeks to live, made a miraculous recovery. The Davenport elders were ecstatic, showering me with stocks, houses, and cars. But on my birthday, Victoria had me imprisoned, tortured, and killed. As I bled out, I asked her why. I was never sick, she sneered. You and your mother forged my medical records, claimed I had late-stage stomach cancer. Also, you could claw your way into our family. You broke up me and Julian, and you drove him to suicide. Victoria had my limbs broken and my body dumped in front of a grave. You have a healing touch, don't you? Let's see you bring the dead back to life. I died in agony, only realizing in my final moments that I had repaid the wrong person. My true savior was someone else entirely. My parents were targeted by the Davenports. My father's business was ruined, and my mother was driven insane. My very soul wept tears of blood, consumed by regret for saving that backstabbing monster. Then I opened my eyes. I was back on the day Mrs. Davenport came to find me. She was asking me if this sympathetic healing was really as miraculous as it sounded. Can it really pull someone back from the brink of death? I smiled. If you're sick, you see a doctor. Trust science. This healing thing? It's just some old superstition my mom believes in. You shouldn't take it seriously. My condition had always been a family secret. In my last life, if we hadn't mistaken my savior, I never would have been sold to the Davenports to save Victoria. But instead of being grateful, she destroyed my family. This time, I was going to watch and see what kind of miserable end Victoria would meet without me. But even after I'd been so dismissive, Mrs. Davenport wouldn't give up. It's better to believe than to not. Besides, you lose nothing by marrying my daughter. Let's just try it. The Davenports were powerful. If they wanted something, they had ways of making it happen. I frowned, trying to think of an excuse, when Victoria herself rushed in. Mother, I won't marry Ethan Vance. The only man I'll ever marry is Julian. The moment I saw her defiant reaction, I knew. She'd been reborn, too. Mrs. Davenport looked troubled. But your health? There is nothing wrong with my health. Victoria spat, shoving a file into her mother's hands. This is my real medical report. The late-stage cancer, the need for a healer, it's all a lie cooked up by Ethan and his mother to social climb. Mrs. Davenport glanced at the report, and her expression toward me curdled into contempt. Calling me a fraud, she ordered the staff to throw me out. I was disgusted, but had no desire to get involved with the Davenports again. I just wanted to leave, but I hadn't taken more than a few steps before Victoria yelled from behind me, "Stop!" I pretended not to hear and kept walking. Ethan Vance, I told you to stop. Are you deaf? Victoria jogged to catch up, and just as she reached me, she violently coughed up a spray of blood. Her body clearly couldn't handle the strain. I instinctively took a step back. Can I help you? My reaction infuriated her. How dare you shrink away from me? You used to be the most worried person in the world whenever I coughed up blood. Why don't you care anymore? I cared then because I thought she was the one who had saved my life, because I thought she was my wife. But she wasn't my savior, and she had destroyed my family. Why should I care about her now? Miss Davenport, you're mistaken. We don't know each other. Today is the first. I started, but she cut me off. Stop pretending, Ethan. The moment you admitted to my mother that your healing constitution was a lie, I knew you were reborn too. Seeing the charade was pointless, I looked up. So, Victoria is Nortez. Don't think you can fool me with that healing and cancer nonsense this time. And you said you only agreed to marry me to repay a life debt? Pathetic. I never saved you. Her smug, self-satisfied expression was infuriating. But I couldn't be bothered to argue with a dying woman. I just want to make things clear. Don't worry, Miss Davenport. I was mistaken about who saved me, and I have no interest in you. I absolutely will not be marrying you this time. At my words, Victoria's face darkened. But I wasn't paying attention to her. An ambulance screamed past, pulling up to a house down the street. If I remember correctly, that was Clare Sterling's house. She was my true savior. Last time, she died on my wedding day. Good people deserve good things. This time, I would not let her suffer the same fate. My expression changed, and I started moving toward the ambulance. But Victoria called over several bodyguards who seized me, dragged me to one of her other properties, and locked me inside. I already told you, I'm not marrying you. What is the meaning of this, Miss Davenport? I demanded, my brow furrowed. Victoria's face was a mask of derision. You love me so much. You once took care of me around the clock, even when you had a raging fever. To marry me, you and your mother invented a terminal illness. You think I'm stupid enough to believe you when you say you won't marry me now. I fought the urge to curse her out. My mother wasn't the only one who said you had terminal cancer. And you know perfectly well how sick your body feels. I meant that my mother and I hadn't lied to her. But my words only made her angrier. Shut up. Julian told me everything before he died last time. You two bribed the specialist who examined me. And the reason I was vomiting blood was because of the medicine your mother deliberately prescribed for me. No wonder she went insane and was so cruel to my family. But I had no quarrel with Julian Croft. I didn't even know why he would frame us like that. I was losing my mind with anger. My mother and I never did those things. Still denying it? Julian is waiting for me. I don't have time to waste on you. Our wedding is in 5 days. You're going to stay here and not cause any trouble. After the wedding, I'll let you go. With that, Victoria turned and left, her face glowing with anticipation. I tried to rush out, but the bodyguards slammed me to the floor. I could only watch as the door shut in my face. I cursed Victoria and her entire lineage before pulling out my phone and calling the police. She reappeared, dragging Julian along, her face dark as she let me out. Since no real harm had been done, the police just mediated the situation and left. After they were gone, Victoria gritted her teeth. You actually dared to call the cops. You've gotten bold. I stared at her coldly. What was I supposed to do? Let you lock me up for 5 days to starve to death? It wouldn't have been the first time, she blurted out. You'd survive. She wasn't wrong. In our past life, when I angered her, she locked me up for 5 days. Worried about her company's upcoming IPO, I didn't want to cause a scandal for her, so I survived by eating toilet paper and drinking water from a flower vase. But she had already killed me once. And now that I knew who my real savior was, I would never do something so stupid again. I just wanted to get away from her. Miss Davenport, if you want to marry Mr. Croft, then marry him. It has nothing to do with me. You don't need to lock me up. She didn't believe me. Don't try to fool me. You went to all this trouble to escape just so you could ruin my wedding with Julian, didn't you? In your dreams. Convinced I was going to sabotage her, she immediately contacted my hospital's director and had both me and my mother fired under the pretext of falsifying medical records. My father's small import-export business was driven to the brink of bankruptcy by her influence. Then, the story of my attempt to marry into a wealthy family was leaked to the press. Everywhere I went, I was met with mockery and gossip. That's him, Ethan Vance. He and his mother are corrupt doctors. They faked a medical chart and invented some sympathetic healer persona, just a social climb. Who even falls for that kind of crap in this day and age? It's pathetic. The CEO of Davenport Industries and a wealthy heir like Julian Croft are a match made in heaven. Who the hell does this Ethan Vance think he is? Trying to be the other man. So shameless. Good thing Ms. Davenport saw right through his act. It was an endless stream of insults aimed at me and my family. I was shoved several times in public, and someone even threw trash at me. While all this was happening, Victoria was watching from a car not far away. She called me. This is just a small warning. If you ever think about me again, I'll make your whole family wish they were dead. Even now, Victoria refused to believe that I had no desire to marry into her family and that I didn't love her. I hung up on her. I hoped she could maintain that same arrogant confidence on the day she died. At home, my dad was sighing in despair. My mom had cried until her eyes were swollen. All we wanted was to repay a debt. How did it come to this? Because Victoria Davenport was never my savior, I explained. When her mother found out about my condition, she deliberately lied to you. The person who really saved me is Clare Sterling. I comforted my parents for a long time and finally managed to get in touch with the Sterling family. Mrs. Sterling was a spiritual person and believed in unconventional healing, so she agreed immediately. She held my hand and promised, whether the healing is successful or not, our family will be indebted to you. If something happens to Clare, you are welcome to remain a son-in-law to the Sterling family. If you wish to remarry, we will ensure you are compensated generously. I didn't care about any of that. I just wanted to repay my debt. But Mrs. Sterling transferred $5 million to my account on the spot and arranged for people to help my father's company. I wanted to get married the next day so Clare could get better sooner, but Mrs. Sterling refused. Asking you to marry a dying woman is already asking too much. We will not slight you with the ceremony. The wedding will be in 2 days to give our family time to prepare. That meant the wedding would be on the same day as Victoria and Julian's. It didn't matter to me, but when Victoria found out, she stormed over to confront me. Who gave you permission to marry someone else? She demanded furiously. I save her. She destroys my family. I marry someone else. She's still not satisfied. Was she insane? I roll my eyes. I'll marry whomever I want. What's it to you? Victoria tilted her chin up. Stop pretending. How could you possibly be willing to marry a dying woman like Clare Sterling? You're just playing hard to get, trying to make me jealous. I was sickened. I'm marrying Clare to save her life. It has nothing to do with you. Still trying to fool me with that healing nonsense? Ethan, playing hard to get is one thing, but this is just pathetic. Here are the keys to the Riverside penthouse. You can live there. I'll spend the first half of my wedding night with Julian and the second half with you. Victoria pried my hand open, shoved a key fob into it, and suggestively scratched my palm. I laughed, a humorless, angry sound. You want me to be your mistress? Victoria's eyes darkened. The only one I love is Julian. Making you my lover is more than you deserve. Don't be ungrateful. She got in her car and sped off. My face was a grim mask as I threw the keys into the nearest trash can. That bitch. I couldn't wait to see her die a miserable death on her wedding day. I didn't have to wait long. On the day of the wedding, our two motorcades crossed paths. The moment Victoria saw me, her face clouded over. Ethan Vance, I already allowed you to be my lover, and you still have the nerve to ruin my wedding with Julian. I give you an inch, and you take a mile. Running into such a toxic person on what should be a happy day. I couldn't help but frown. Are you blind? I'm in the Sterling family's wedding car. No one is trying to ruin your wedding. Don't think you can fool me. Victoria screamed. Clare Sterling has leukemia, and your healing constitution is a lie. You would never marry a dead woman. You're just trying to switch places with Julian and marry me instead. Spurt. Before she could finish her tirade, she coughed up a huge mouthful of blood. Victoria clearly hadn't expected it, and she stared at me in disbelief. But I just offered a cold smile as I watched her stagger and collapse. She was dying. This was how she was always supposed to end up. Her medical team rushed over, frantically trying to treat her. But before they could do anything, Julian Croft ran up and pushed them away. Get away from her. There's nothing wrong with Victoria's health. Don't you feel guilty for lying to her all the time? He held out a bottle of painkillers to Victoria. She poured out half the bottle and stuffed the pills in her mouth, her eyes still locked on me. Ethan Vance, don't think that just because you and your mother secretly messed with my medication to make my symptoms look worse, I'll call off my wedding and marry you. She wiped the blood from her lips, her eyes full of scorn. This healing constitution nonsense? I don't buy it. If getting married could save lives, what would we need doctors for? I seriously suspected her head was full of water. The only person I ever intended to marry was Clare Sterling. Could you please stop with the delusions, Miss Davenport? My tone infuriated her. Before she could continue, Clare, in her wedding dress, hurried over. She stood in front of me. Honey, she vomited so much blood. Are you okay? You weren't scared, were you? I'm fine, I said, smiling at her. I was a doctor. A scene like this was nothing to me. Clare breathed a sigh of relief. Victoria, however, looked as if she'd seen a ghost. How can this be? At this point in time, Clare Sterling should have been dead long ago. How is she still alive and well? The words had barely left her mouth when she coughed up several more mouthfuls of blood, collapsing to the ground like a dying animal, unable to get up. A person like her deserved to die in excruciating pain. I frowned and tugged on Clare's sleeve. Miss Sterling, we should go, or we'll miss the ceremony. Okay. Clare's eyes were fixed on me. She answered gently and led me back to the car. Victoria tried to stop me, but she couldn't even crawl. Her wedding dress was stained with blood. She looked pathetic, but more than that, she looked terrified. It hurts. Julian, why aren't the painkillers working? Why do I feel so awful? Julian's face was already deathly pale. Why, you probably just didn't take enough. Here, finish the rest of the bottle. You'll be fine. But even after Victoria took the rest, it had no effect. If anything, she threw up more blood. She was on the verge of a breakdown. Why isn't it working? Julian's eyes were filled with terror. It shouldn't be like this. In our last life, your health was fine later on. You couldn't have been sick. It's not possible the sympathetic healing actually worked. Hearing this, Victoria's face turned ashen. What do you mean I couldn't have been sick? You told me Ethan Vance and his mother forged my medical records and drugged me. Was that all just your guess? Julian Croft, you brainless idiot. You're going to get me killed. She wanted to hit him, but didn't have the strength. Victoria was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. The oncology specialist could only shake his head. Miss Davenport has late-stage stomach cancer. If she had continued her medication and treatment, she could have held on for a while longer. But she stopped all treatments and has not been resting. It's a matter of days now. I don't want to die. What do you mean, a matter of days? What kind of quack expert are you? I was perfectly fine in my last life. Victoria tried to scream, but her voice was as weak as a mosquito's buzz. She hated Julian, that meddling fool, but she had no time to deal with him now. Victoria gathered her remaining strength and grabbed her mother. "Mom, go find Ethan Vance. Tell him to save me. Only he can save me." Mrs. Davenport was sobbing uncontrollably. "But he's already married to Clare Sterling. What are we going to do?" Victoria was certain. "That doesn't matter. He's so madly in love with me. He would never watch me die." By the time Mrs. Davenport pushed Victoria into the hotel ballroom, Clare and I had just exchanged rings. Mrs. Davenport, completely disregarding the occasion, shouted, "Ethan, my dear son-in-law, forget about Clare. Come and save Victoria. She's critically ill and needs your healing." Her words shocked the entire room into silence. I clenched my fists. In our last life, Mrs. Davenport had thanked me profusely for saving Victoria. But when her daughter was destroying my family, she did nothing to stop it, only helping to clean up the mess. This life, she called me a fraud and stood by silently while her daughter targeted my family. Now that she needed me, she was putting on this warm, familiar act, as hypocritical as ever. Clare frowned deeply. "Mrs. Davenport, please watch your words. Ethan is my husband now." Guests were whispering amongst themselves, many recording with their phones. The scene was getting ugly, so the Sterling and Davenport families moved to a private room to talk. Victoria's face was pale, but her attitude was as arrogant as ever. "Clare, you don't really think Ethan likes you, do you? He only married you because he's throwing a tantrum with me." I felt my stomach turn. Narcissism is a disease. If you're sick, go see a doctor. Don't come here and act crazy. Victoria's eyes were full of feigned helplessness. "I get it now. You're jealous of Julian, angry that I hurt you for his sake, right? I've seen his true colors now. We can swap him out for you as the groom. Are you satisfied now? It would be easier to reason with a dog." I was getting tired of this. Clare looked equally displeased, but Victoria spoke first. "My patience is limited. If the Sterling family doesn't cooperate, I will immediately sever all business ties between our two families." The Sterling family was at a critical juncture in its business transition. If the partnership was canceled now, they would suffer massive losses. Clare whispered to me, "Don't be afraid. You're my husband. The Sterling family will never push you away." She was about to refuse Victoria, but I put a hand on her arm to stop her. I looked at Victoria and Mrs. Davenport. "It's true that I have a sympathetic healing constitution, but I'm already married to someone else." Before I could finish, Victoria eagerly cut in. "It doesn't matter that you're married. I don't mind. You and Clare get a divorce right now, and then you can marry me and heal me." She only cared about her own life, completely disregarding everyone else's feelings. She was still so selfish. Clare was more furious than I was. "You can forget about it. Even if our families cancel their partnership, I will never divorce Ethan." Her body was only just beginning to recover. She was still weak. The emotional upheaval made her breathing heavy. I had her sit down and told her not to speak. This only made Victoria more confident. "See? Ethan won't even let you continue. He's so madly in love with me. He wouldn't just divorce once for me. He would divorce 10, 100 times without hesitation." Mrs. Davenport's face lit up. "Good son-in-law, then come back with us right away. Victoria's health can't wait." She reached out to grab me, but I pulled away. "It's too late for me to marry Victoria now," I said calmly. "My healing ability can only be used once. I've already used it on Clare, but," I added, "if she takes my blood, along with the heart's blood of the man she truly loves at the same time, it might still save her." Victoria's eyes lit up with a crazed, greedy light. I pricked my finger and let 2 drops of blood fall for her. For 5 consecutive months, only twice a month. Any more will be counterproductive. Victoria was a little disappointed, but she drank my blood immediately. "Don't worry, Ethan. As soon as I'm better, I'll marry you right away. I will never betray your love for me." She then left in a hurry, eager to get Julian's heart's blood. But Victoria didn't know that his blood would do nothing for her. I only said that to get my revenge on him. As for my blood, it would keep her from dying for now. But in 5 months, she wouldn't be cured. She would be plunged into a living hell, forced to endure the agony of her late-stage cancer magnified 1,000 times over, every second of every day. This was the price she would pay for what she did to me and my family. Clare and I continued with our wedding. After the ceremony was over, she hesitated several times before finally asking, "You married me to repay a debt?" "Yes. It was the truth. There was no need to deny it." Clare said seriously, "But when I saved you, I never intended for you to repay me like this. If you have someone you love, you could tell me at any time. I'm willing to get a divorce." She then quickly added, "Of course, I will not short you on your share of the assets in the divorce settlement. We were practically strangers. We'd never even met before. Otherwise, I wouldn't have mistaken my savior in my past life. Still, even if Claire had no feelings for me, it didn't stop her from being good to me. That was just the kind of person she was. This was what my savior was supposed to be like." I smiled and gently touched her stomach. "But we already have a baby on the way, and I don't have anyone I love. If you don't either, Miss Sterling, would you mind continuing this marriage with me?" Claire nodded solemnly. "As long as you don't mind, I'm willing." That night, she worried I would feel awkward and suggested we sleep in separate rooms, but I refused. We're a real married couple. Why should we sleep apart? A good relationship between parents is good for the baby, too. After I showered and got into bed, Claire lay beside me, carefully stroking my stomach. "We only did it once. Is there really a baby in there?" she asked curiously. I nodded. "My condition is a bit unique. The first time is always a success. It's too early to detect now, but we'll know in a little while." Her stomach was flat, not yet showing, but Claire was fascinated, whispering to me about potential nicknames for the baby. I fell asleep as we talked. The next morning, I was woken up by my phone ringing. On the other end, Julian Croft's voice was shrill with rage. "Ethan Vance, you've already ruined my wedding. What more do you want? Why did you make Victoria take my heart's blood? Are you trying to kill me?" Claire was already up making breakfast. She'd left me a note. I didn't have to hold back. "Yes, you guessed right." Julian broke down. "I've done nothing to you. Why are you doing this to me?" I scoffed. "I hadn't done anything to you either, but that didn't stop you from telling Victoria that my mother and I were scheming against her, did it? He set me up, so I was getting my revenge. It was only fair." But even after being exposed, Julian remained brazenly self-righteous. "You have no right to blame me. Victoria and I were the ones who were supposed to be together. But in our last life, you had to insist on your healing constitution and force your way into the Davenport family, turning me into a secret lover who couldn't see the light of day. You owe me this." So that was how he saw it. No wonder he was so malicious toward me. But I had to set the record straight. Victoria was the one who was afraid of dying, so she hid the fact that she had a boyfriend. Mrs. Davenport was the one who wanted to save her daughter, so she lied and said Victoria was my savior. They're the ones who wronged you, not me. I made it perfectly clear, but Julian didn't dare hate them, so he directed all his anger at me. "It's because you lied about having a healing ability that they did what they did. It's still your fault, you bastard." "Julian, I really don't like that mouth of yours. I hope that on the day Victoria kills you, you'll still be unable to bring yourself to blame her." I hung up and blocked his number. Then, I hired someone to watch Victoria and gather evidence of her imprisoning and abusing Julian. 5 months passed quickly. After drinking my blood for the 10th time, Victoria had a violent episode and was rushed to the hospital. She called me in a panic, demanding I come immediately. I didn't have to go, but I wanted to witness her suffering firsthand. Fearing for my safety, I went to the hospital with 4 large bodyguards. Claire insisted on coming with me. In the hospital room, Victoria was writhing on the floor in pain. Mrs. Davenport's makeup was ruined by tears. When she saw me, she rushed over and grabbed my wrist. "Ethan Vance, why is my daughter in so much pain after drinking your blood this time? Why do the doctors say her cancer is gone, but she's in more agony than ever before?" I shook her off. "Because this is the payback she deserves." Mrs. Davenport's face changed drastically. "Bastard, what did you do to my daughter?" She raised her hand to strike me, but Claire caught her wrist. "You're going to bully my husband in front of me, Mrs. Davenport? Am I invisible?" I slapped Mrs. Davenport across the face. "Calling me a bastard? You're the biggest bastard of them all." Victoria was in so much pain her lips were white, but she still had the strength to yell at me. "Ethan Vance, you dare hit my mother?" I backhanded her as well. "That's right, I hit her. You son of a bitch. Aren't you afraid that if you piss me off, I won't marry you? You won't even get to be my lover." Victoria's face was flushed with anger. I walked over and planted my foot firmly on her face. "You impersonated my savior, hid the fact you had a boyfriend to try and marry me, and then destroyed my family because of your lover's baseless accusations. A piece of trash like you. Where do you get the confidence to think I would ever love you?" I leaned down slightly. "Oh, and I forgot to tell you. After drinking my blood, you will live in a state where you'll beg for death but never find it. Victoria made me and my family suffer so much for no reason. Why would she think I would forgive and forget and save her?" Only then did Victoria finally believe that I didn't love her at all. Her eyes were bloodshot with rage, and she tried to get up and attack me. But as soon as she moved, Claire kicked her back down to the floor. Victoria struggled to her feet, unable to accept this reality. Claire, make Ethan Vance save me, or the Davenport family will cancel our partnership with the Sterlings. Claire snuggled into my arms and said coldly, 5 months have passed, Miss Davenport. Did you really think I'd still be in the same position, waiting for you to threaten me? The Sterlings had already found a new business partner. The Davenports could no longer use that to threaten them. Hearing this, Victoria refused to believe it and started to lose her mind. I called the police right then and there and reported her for kidnapping and torturing Julian Croft. When the police arrived, they found him locked in the basement of the villa, nothing but skin and bones, with only a breath of life left in him. Julian's eyes were filled with tears and utter despair. She promised she would love me forever. But just because I caused her healing to fail, she tortured me like this, wishing I would die. How could I have been so stupid to fall in love with her? I hate her. I hate her so much. Julian died, full of hatred and agony. I felt a flicker of pity watching him, but I didn't regret it. He knew full well how cruel and violent Victoria was, yet he still poisoned her mind against us. My family's tragic fate in our past life was inextricably linked to him. This end was of his own making. Victoria watched Julian die without a trace of sadness. Her anger focused solely on me. Ethan Vance, you've made me suffer a fate worse than death, where every breath feels like 1,000 needles. Isn't that enough? Why do you have to call the police on me? I walked up to her and said in a low voice, Did you think getting arrested and going to prison was the worst that could happen to you? Wrong. Drinking my blood won't just make you wish you were dead. It will also make you infertile. She loved children, but she was destined to never be a mother. Victoria's face was a mask of disbelief, her eyes shot with blood. She lunged at me. You animal. You bastard. I'll kill you. But before she could touch me, Claire kicked her down again. I walked over and sighed softly. You brought all of this on yourself, didn't you? I don't bother anyone who doesn't bother me first. She started it. The police stepped forward, handcuffed Victoria, and led her away. She struggled and shouted, I want to report Ethan Vance. He was the one who said taking Julian Croft's heart's blood could cure my illness. He incited me to commit murder. I spread my hands. Don't go around making false accusations, Miss Davenport. Do you have any proof? Of course, she had no proof. A person like her never cared about the law. Even when she broke it, her only thought was to destroy the evidence. Victoria struggled in the officer's grasp, her eyes filled with murderous intent as she looked at me. Ethan Vance, you just wait. When I get out, I will kill you. I smiled cheerfully. I hope you can last until your release date. Don't go and kill yourself out of desperation. That would spoil all the fun. Victoria was taken away. The Davenports hired the best lawyers, but after the trial, she was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to only 5 years. Even so, she couldn't accept it and fainted in the courtroom. Mrs. Davenport cried until she could barely breathe. She blocked me and Claire outside the courthouse, her eyes red and swollen. Miss Sterling, our families have known each other for decades. Are you really going to destroy that for the sake of one man? Claire's expression didn't change. Since we've run into each other, I'll pass on a message from my family's elders. The Davenport family is faithless and cruel. The Sterlings are ashamed to be associated with you. Her words left Mrs. Davenport with no dignity. Her face turned beet red. Don't you forget, this healing groom, Ethan Vance, was found by our Davenport family first. If we hadn't let you have him, you'd be dead by now. Claire was disgusted. My husband is a person, not an object. He chose me. You didn't let me have him. Mrs. Davenport was trembling with rage. Fine, fine. So the Sterling family is determined to protect this animal. Is that it? Then prepare to face the wrath of the Davenports. She didn't address me once from beginning to end. Just like the first time we met, she didn't see me as a person, didn't give me a second thought. I wasn't angry. I just called out to her retreating back. Walk slowly, Mrs. Davenport. At your age, a fall could leave you paralyzed. Mrs. Davenport shot me a hateful glare before getting in her car and leaving. She had no idea that even if she didn't come after me, I would come after her. A corrupt, sprawling family like the Davenports should have fallen long ago. But before I enacted my revenge, I went with Claire for her prenatal checkup. Her belly was quite large now. If she hadn't insisted that pregnant women needed to stay active, I would have carried her everywhere. When the time came, she gave birth to a healthy pair of twins, a boy and a girl. Looking at my son and daughter, I felt a familiar surge of gratitude. I had started this journey only to repay a debt, but I had ended up with such a wonderful wife. My in-laws and Claire's grandparents were overjoyed, showering both the twins and me with gifts. On the day of the twins' 100-day celebration party, two more pieces of good news arrived. Davenport Industries officially entered bankruptcy liquidation. Unable to handle the devastating blow, Mrs. Davenport jumped to her death. After seeing the last of the guests off, I went with Claire to the detention center to see Victoria. Only a few months had passed, but her face was so gone her cheeks were hollowed out, making her look like a skeleton. Her exposed skin was covered in scars. I hadn't visited her before, but I had been keeping tabs on her. Apparently, every time the pain became unbearable, she would demand to go to the hospital, but the doctors could never find anything wrong. After being jerked around a dozen times, the prison guards concluded she was faking it and ignored her. She wanted to kill herself to end the pain, but her desire for revenge kept her alive. So she resorted to self-harm to endure the excruciating agony. When Victoria saw me, she was still spouting threats. "Ethan Vance, you still dare to show your face? You just wait. I'll be out of here soon, and I'm going to kill you." I allowed a soft chuckle. "Did your mother tell you she was working on getting your sentence reduced, that you just had to hang in there? Well, what a shame. The Davenport family went bankrupt today, and she killed herself. You're not getting out early. You're just going to have to stay in here." Victoria shot to her feet. "Impossible. You're lying." I raised an eyebrow and played a news clip on my phone. Victoria's face went white. She started screaming and thrashing, and the guards had to drag her away. She was alive, but the daily torment was far worse than what she had endured with late-stage cancer. With no hope left, there was no way she could hold on. The night I returned from the detention center, I heard she had sharpened a toothbrush and stabbed herself in the throat. She was dead. I asked Claire, "Do you think I was too cruel?" "She hurt you. Your revenge was justified. If she had hurt you and you just smiled and forgave her, that's what would have been wrong." There was only admiration and approval in Claire's eyes, not a trace of disgust or fear. I smiled and continued walking with her. Behind us, 5 nannies pushed strollers with our 2 children and carried our bags. The events of my past life were now truly in the past. From now on, things would only get better.